Pigs gone wild. Researchers found that Texas has the worst feral hog problem in the entire country. Wild hogs cause a lot of destruction, and researchers estimate around $2.5 billion in agricultural damage.
Across the hill country of central Texas, something impossible is happening. The feral hog, the animal nothing could stop, that shrugged off poison in helicopters and millions of dollars in traps, is vanishing. Not scattered, not migrating, killed. Whole sounders wiped off the map overnight.
The pig thing, I'm glad you brought that up, because that is one thing that I keep hearing out here from folks, that there's an attitude about pigs, that they're disgusting, they're just dirty creatures, and they kind of just want them dead.
With no carcasses, no gunshots, and no explanation left behind. For 2 years, wildlife officials chased that silence across empty fields and blank trail cameras, certain some new disease or predator had swept in. And when they finally saw what was doing it, they didn't cheer. They quietly called off the helicopters and backed away. The occupation. To understand why that silence rattled the people who know this land, you have to understand what they were up against. In Texas, the feral hog isn't a nuisance, it's an occupation. Biologists estimate roughly 6 million wild hogs roam free across the United States, and Texas is ground zero, with more than 2 million of them churning through the hill country and the ranch land. A mature boar can weigh past 300 pounds, with curved self-sharpening tusks and shoulders built like a battering ram. A sounder, a family group of them, can move through a field in the dark and leave it looking like it was shelled. They don't graze, they root, plowing up the soil until a cornfield is bare dirt by morning. Fences buckle, creek banks collapse into mud. Put a number on it, and it stops sounding like wildlife. Feral hogs cause an estimated $2.5 billion in damage every year in this country, and that figure isn't dropping, it's climbing. And for decades, nothing on this continent could slow them down, which is exactly why what happened next should have been impossible. The vanishing. So, when the sounders started disappearing, the people who knew this land best didn't cheer. They got nervous. In Blanco County, west of Austin, these hogs had become a fact of life. You heard them crashing through the brush at night, the grunting, the squeal of piglets. You found fresh wallows by the stock tanks every morning, the mud churned and stinking, worn game trails cut into the pasture. You ran trail cameras that filled their cards with hog after hog after hog. They were a constant you could set your watch by. And then, in certain pockets of the county, the constant just stopped. Not all at once. It happened the way silence happens, and you notice it late. A rancher walks a fence line he hasn't touched in weeks, and the ground is smooth, the wallows crusted and dry. He pulls a camera card that used to log dozens of hogs a night and scrolls through a week of nothing but a curious raccoon and the wind. At first, he figures he got lucky. Then the same thing turns up on the next property, and the one after that. Whole sounders gone, not thinned, gone. And here's what made it worse. The reports didn't add up. If a disease was tearing through, where were the carcasses? A die-off leaves bloated bodies in the brush, the smell riding the wind, scavengers circling, and they found almost none of it. If hunters were behind it, somebody would be bragging at every feed store for 50 miles, and nobody was. Something was erasing these animals cleanly, quietly, completely, with no human hand anyone could point to. If stories like this, the quiet, strange things happening out in the American wild, are why you're here, take 1 second and subscribe before we go on, because what they found in that brush is the part nobody saw coming. The unkillable animal. That emptiness made officials lean in, not relax. Feral hogs are one of the most successful large mammals on the continent for one reason. Almost nothing kills them efficiently, and their armored hide is the least of it. What makes a hog nearly impossible to manage sits between its ears. Picture a corral trap. You bait it for 2 weeks until the whole sounder strolls in and out like it's their kitchen. Then you drop the gate and catch most of them. Almost never all. The ones that slip out are educated for life and never go near a trap again. A sow leads her piglets up to the bait and never lets them cross the line, and the next generation inherits the lesson. Then there's the math, the part that breaks people. A single sow can breed before she's a year old and throw 2 litters a year. To just hold a hog population steady, you have to remove roughly 70% of it every single year. Miss that number and it doesn't drift up. it detonates. So those empty pockets of Blanco County were a breeding machine switched off in defiance of every model anyone trusted. Something was killing hogs faster than hogs could make them, and out there, that was supposed to be impossible. The expensive war. So they went looking, using a tool that sounds like a spy thriller, a Judas pig. You collar a single hog and turn it loose. Hogs are so social that a lone one wants nothing more than its own kind. So your collared trader hunts down a sounder and leads trackers to a group they'd never have found alone. But the groups weren't holding. Trackers would tag a sounder one week and come back to find it smaller, then smaller again. Something was reaching into these groups between visits, in the dark, without scattering a shell casing. The hogs weren't fleeing. They were being subtracted. This landed on top of a war that had already cost a fortune. Aerial gunning from helicopters at hundreds of dollars an hour. Remote-triggered traps you could spring from your phone. Chemical baits. Even hog birth control. Tens of millions a year against an enemy that kept winning anyway. And now, in these pockets of the hill country, the boat was bailing itself. And that left the agency somewhere strange. If something was already doing the job for free, better than helicopters and poison, then more bullets in those acres might wreck whatever was working. You don't keep spraying a field that's clearing itself. So they made a quiet call. Ease off and watch. But that call came wrapped around dread. Stepping back only made sense if the thing in the dark was harmless, and they had no proof of that. Was it a disease? Could it jump to livestock, pets, people? Before they could relax, they had to walk back into that brush and find out what was out there. The draw. The first real clue wasn't a carcass or a lab result. It was a place. Picture a field tech following a faint game trail off a property where the cameras had gone dark weeks earlier. Boots, data logger, another routine morning. Then he stops because the ground under him is wrong. Not torn the way hogs tear it. Scuffed, raked into arcs, like something spun and braced itself right here. He crouches. There are drag marks in the soft soil, long, shallow furrows leading off toward the brush. The kind a body leaves when it's being pulled instead of walking. And there's a smell riding under the cedar and dust. Blood. He looks up and finds it, dried dark and flecked up the pale trunk of a juniper, at a height no accident explains. So he reads it like a crime scene. He looks for shell casings and finds none. No boot prints but his own, no ATV ruts, no cut fence. No human stood in this draw and pulled a trigger. He thinks, mountain lion. But a lion kills with one suffocating hold, then drags the kill off and buries it to come back later. There's no clean kill here, and nothing buried, just a struggle sprawled across 30 feet of ground, messy and prolonged, with sign from more than one direction. And then he finds the tracks. That's the moment the back of his neck goes cold, because they aren't strange at all. Neat little four-toed prints, tidy oval pads, the kind anyone in Texas can name without thinking. Coyote. But there isn't one set. There are several, overlapping, looping the ground from every angle. Not one scavenger wandering up to something already dead, but several animals that arrive together, working together, surrounding something that was very much alive when they got here. And everybody in that country knows what a coyote is. The cleanup crew. Rabbits, roadkill, leftovers. A coyote does not pull down a healthy young hog. Not when the mother is a wall of muscle with razors on her face. The rule everyone grew up on is simple. A coyote that tried it would die trying. And yet, the draw was telling him it hadn't. The footage. One patch of ground is an anomaly you can argue with. So they went back into the archive, years of trail camera footage watched exactly once and forgotten, and pulled the clips everyone always skipped, the ones with coyotes in them. One file kept surfacing, recorded years earlier on a feeder line in open country, logged as routine, coyotes on a carcass, scavenging, nothing to see. It had sat mislabeled for nearly a decade, because whoever tagged it already knew what coyotes were, and saw exactly what they expected to. This time, someone watched it slower. They started the clip before the carcass, back in the minutes nobody had ever studied. What's on that screen isn't a few hungry animals stumbling onto a free meal. It's a hunt. Planned, patient, coordinated. In the gray wash of infrared, A sounder drifts through the grass at dusk, a sow, her juveniles, feeding, relaxed. And along the tree line, low and unhurried, 5 coyotes are already in position. One walks out into the open, casual, deliberate. It lets itself be seen. The sow's head snaps up and she charges, and the coyote gives ground, not in fear but in measurement, peeling away, drawing her out, stretching the gap between mother and young, 10 feet, 20, 30. That's when the other 4 move, coming in low from downwind. They were never after the sow. They pour into the hole she left, into the scatter of juveniles. And they take one, not the closest, the slowest. By the time she understands she's been played and comes thundering back, the pack has melted into the brush with what they came for. The whole thing took under 5 seconds. And if your gut says you just watched one freak smart pack get lucky once, hold on to that, because that's not what the rest of the archive said. The pattern. Because once researchers knew what to look for, they found it again and again. Different counties, cameras, years, the same divided labor, the same focus on the young, the same trick of making the mother fight herself. The behavior was spreading, moving county to county like a rumor that turns out to be true. And that's what the rulebook never accounted for. The coyote is the most adaptable predator on this continent, having survived every campaign to wipe it out and spread into nearly every state instead. And the land had just handed it 6 million hogs, an endless supply of soft, slow juveniles walking into the open every night. It learns fast and teaches the next litter. So they went to the evidence that can't lie. They collected scat across the range and ran the DNA, and it confirmed what the footage only hinted at. In some areas, feral hog made up a major share of the coyote diet. Not a snack, a staple. These packs were eating the next generation of hogs before it could breed and replace itself, doing for free the exact thing the government had spent millions and thousands of helicopter hours failing to do. And the moment officials understood that, they started calling off the missions. A helicopter doesn't just kill hogs, it panics everything under it and shatters the very packs doing the work. Without knowing it, they'd been fighting the cure. The smarter move was to step back and let the home team finish the job. That's the part that never made a press release, and that silence is where the wild stories rushed in. The bioweapon rumors, the engineered super coyotes, a new apex predator loose in the hill country. The truth was quieter and stranger. Nature had been correcting our mistake the whole time, and the hardest thing for the people in charge to do was nothing. But don't call it a clean victory, not yet. A sow still throws 2 litters a year, and against even a hungry pack, the hogs are winning on sheer reproduction across most of these states. One trick, spreading one county at a time, isn't a war won. It's just the first time this has looked like a war at all. So, here's where you come in. Knowing how fast both these animals learn and breed, which side takes the next 10 years? The hogs? The coyotes quietly hunting them? Or us, fumbling around in the middle? Drop your call in the comments. I want to see where you land. And subscribe to watch how this one plays out.